Welcome to the Succeeding Over All Roadblocks Lifecast, a show about self-discovery and vibrating higher in every area of your life. Each week, I'll have conversations with some of my favorite people who are soaring over life's challenges. They'll share their struggles, but more importantly, the lessons they've learned along the way. I'm your host, Keisha Whitaker, entrepreneur and transformational speaker. Let's get ready to soar. Hey everyone, welcome to the Succeeding Over All Roadblocks Lifecast, or the SOAR Lifecast. Today's topic is one that is very serious to me and one that I have experienced in my personal life, and that is self-sabotage. There's so many things that we do that we don't realize are contributing to why we're not getting the outcomes that we want for our life. And so today I want to talk to a young lady who is not only overcoming that and is willing to share her story about it, but she is just a fascinating person. So I am excited to introduce you to Jennifer Migan. Jennifer Migan is a speechwriter and public speaking coach, born and raised in Bordeaux, France. She is also a former professional tennis player, and she works as a media manager for an international telecommunications company. She's also the founder of the Speech House, which helps people in English and French to overcome their fear of public speaking and become better communicators. She attended Indiana State University, earning degrees in journalism and political science, and also a master's degree in international relations from Durham University in the United Kingdom. So this is a person that I am so thrilled and excited to have on, and cannot wait to have her tell you more about her story. So please welcome Jennifer Migan.
Hi.
Hey Jennifer, how are you?
I'm good. Wow, I love the intro. That was so cool. Good job.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have you on. This is a real treat for me because we met through Toastmasters, none other than.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when I first met you, I was like, okay, I feel like this is like a twin flame. We have so much in common. I was like, oh my God. And it was so weird because we were in the Toastmasters meeting online. Actually,
yes.
You're in France, I'm in the US, and we were in a club meeting that was based out of the UK. So to meet, the Toastmasters has really brought us together from a global perspective. So I am so thrilled to have you on. And I think that day we were so in sync that day, down to the same color. We were the same color shirt.
That's so true. I remember that. And I remember I was like, oh my gosh, we need to talk. And then you messaged me. I was like, yes, because I didn't want to be weird. I was a guest and I was like, okay, let me just see what's happening. But no, it was so cool. It's true. Yeah, we were actually wearing the same color. I remember now.
Yeah. And I remember I was like, I have to talk to her. Her story is so fascinating. I was like, how did you get, this going? I just want to get to know you. So hearing your story about when you talked about your travels and everywhere you've been. So I definitely want to get into your story and let people know who you are and, how you got to be where you are. So please do share, how you growing up in Bordeaux, like what was that like?
Like you said, I grew up in Bordeaux. My parents came from Benin, and then they settled in Bordeaux. And my brother and my sister, we grew up in Bordeaux. I'm the youngest of the three kids, and growing up there, it was very interesting. To be honest, I started to play sports at a very young age. At 6, I started to play tennis. Actually, it's an interesting story because I didn't want to play tennis. My sister was playing tennis and I wanted to be a ballerina. I was just obsessed with that. And then we went to the club for my sister to register. And then the tennis coach asked, what about your young sister? Does she want to play tennis? And my sister was like, nah, she wants to become a ballerina. And then I said, no, I want to play tennis. I don't know why I say that, but the rest is history. And that's how I started playing. And I did well very quickly, and that's how I was among the best juniors in the country, and I trained national camp, and that's when I decided that I wanted to become a professional tennis player. So it kind of came randomly. Tennis came randomly into my life, but I stuck to it for more than 25 years now. So I'm very glad that I did that. So it was interesting. And tennis brought me to so many places. I'm very grateful for that.
So tell me how you ended up in the US. How did tennis get you here?
Yeah. So basically, tennis again. I was a senior in high school, and it's when you finish high school in France and you play sports. Basically, you have to make a choice. Either you go to university, because at the time it wasn't like in the US where you have this great system when you can play sports for university, get a scholarship, and still play sports at a very high level. And I didn't know what to do. And I felt that at the time, I didn't know if I wanted to go on tour by myself at 18. I felt I was a bit young, and I didn't want to do it by myself. To be honest, I didn't have that in me. I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do well if I do. And I had a friend who actually wanted to go in the US, and she told me about it. And I had no idea about scholarship and the university and everything. And then I saw her starting to do that. And I said, okay, well, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea, because I get to play in Division 1. I get to compete, to improve. At the same time, I get a degree, and everything is for free. I mean, you get you have to pay to play for the school, but your university degree is paid by the school, which is amazing, and such a chance to have. So she was in touch with the coach from Indiana State University, who is French. And that's how I kind of came along. And she actually was not able to go there in the end. And I did all the paperwork by myself. I translated my transcripts. I took the TOEFL and the SAT, and yeah, and voila, I ended up in ISU, and I was a sycamore for 4 years, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, really. I mean, playing college tennis and the people you meet from all over, the friendships you make. I mean, I'm still friends with most of my teammates, most of the people I've met there. It's incredible. I mean, it was amazing, and most importantly, I really improved. In terms of tennis, I played some of my best tennis there, and gave me so much confidence to go on tour after that, to play professional tennis. I think if it wasn't for college tennis, I might have not played professional tennis. So for me, the US, my whole experience there is very special.
Wow, that's amazing. So when did you go on tour? Like, how old were you, and how long were you
So
pro?
yeah, so basically, I went to college at 18, and then for the first 2 years, people saying, "Hey, maybe you should play on tour," and I didn't want to hear about it because, like I said, it was the competition, the life on tour took a toll on me. To be honest, when I was a junior, I just couldn't deal. I didn't deal well with the competition and how like people were, and I just didn't want to be around that environment anymore. And then I started to enjoy competing again, because in the US it was very different. I felt it was nice. So when I was a junior and senior in uni, I started to say, maybe, I'll take a shot. So when I was 22, I graduated, and then I moved back then I stayed for a while in the US, and then I moved back to France. And that's why I say, hey, you know what? If you don't do it, you will never know, and you will always wonder. And I was 23 at the time, which is pretty old actually to start a career. I know 23 sounds very young, but in terms of professional tennis, it's quite old. So that's how I did that, and I did it for 3 years. I played, and then because it cost a lot of money. To be honest, it was too expensive, and I just said, okay, you know what? I have another opportunity in the UK to study. I would do that, and at least I did what I had to do. I went on tour. I saw how it was, and I did my stuff. I gave my best. No regrets.
Yeah. So how well did you do on the tour? And I guess there was something you said earlier that stuck out to me, and that was some of the things that you didn't like about the tour. What were the things that you experienced? I know you're probably definitely one of few people that look like you on the tour. What
Yeah.
was that experience like growing up playing tennis and, being one of the few? And then, was we know Venus and Serena's story was very difficult a
Yeah.
lot of times, but they overcame. So what were some of those things that you experienced that really turned you off or kind of made you question, was this the right thing to do?
Yeah. So first of all, yeah, it was like you said. It's funny now. My niece actually plays tennis, and she's like, for her, it's okay. It's normal to see Serena being the top player, to see all those girls. Venus, Serena, Sloane Stephens, and Madison Keys, and there were so many. So many girls. When I started playing, I mean, Venus and Serena were not there, and they were there when I was younger, but it was not at the magnitude that they were. So they were still like the exception. So it's true that it was different. But what's interesting is that what Venus and Serena experienced was very obvious. Those examples of racism that they face, Indian Wells, all those things, it was quite obvious. The thing is, like in France, everything is more subtle. So it's kind of, you wonder, why am I not going to this world championship when I have the results? Why am I not getting a sponsorship when all my friends do get sponsorships? Why, and then, I mean, how parents are, especially like Black parents, like, well, you have to be twice as good. I mean, that scene in Scandal, there was an episode where Papa Pope is telling her that. And I think that we all felt it because it's exactly, we all heard that speech. And for me, it was like, well, I was one of the best, but I wasn't the best. So you grow up with that thing where you feel like you're not enough, although you're pretty good, but you're like, well, if I was the best, things were different. Being like, third, fourth, sometimes second, it's not enough. So you grew up with that thing of not feeling enough in a sense. But I would say that apart from that, I think and I think this is for every player, it's not a story of race. I think it's very competitive. The tennis world is such competitive sports, and you see a lot of things, and it's really about a mind game. The goal, what I've noticed, is about taking the other person down. If you take down the competition, it's one less, and you can move forward, which is something I never felt comfortable with. And on top of that, I would say that the way boys and girls are brought up into the competition world is different. I used to train because I was the best player in the region where I grew up in. I was training with men a lot. And what I've noticed was that there was a lot of competition going on, but it was a healthy one. It's like they were pushing each other, and they were pushing each other on the court, sometimes they might, argue a bit, but when the match or the practice finished, it's done. They're friends and they move on. On the woman's side, there was this kind of things where, oh, you cannot be friend with her, because if you're friend with her, then you're not going to be able to play against her, or you cannot trust, and there's this kind of things that is this idea that is pushed that women have to hate each other, and it's very unhealthy, and it's something I was so uncomfortable with, and I actually didn't understand, because I was like, well, my friends, my guy friends, they are friends and they are doing well. How come we cannot do the same? It's something I never understood, to be honest. But I was brought up in that thing, like it's kind of, you have to be like this, but that something is not okay. So for me, this was that, and the fact that you always feel like you have to prove yourself, and that I think the biggest challenge for me was that I never really found a coach that was listening really what I wanted to do. And I think when you're coaching, it's very important to know your player, because you might see someone and say, oh, okay, oh, like me, I was like athletic, I could do stuff, but they're like, oh, she's going to be like this. And especially, and when Venus and Serena actually came up, people were like, oh, you have to play like them. And I was like, but that's not my game. That's not how I like to play. Well, you told like them, and so you have to play like this. And it felt like counterintuitive for me. I was like, but that's not, I'm more creative, and this is not, there are some guys game that I really like. I want to play this way. And you push into something. So as a coach, you have to really understand your player so you can define the identity. And it's something I never found. I was always someone who was thinking a lot and trying to understand things. And I felt like people didn't have time to pay attention to what I actually wanted to do. And it's when I came to the US that I felt more freedom to explore, to work with sports psychologists. My coach was listening to me more, and we were able to work to really put my game to another level. And that's why actually I was successful in college, because I just felt like I could be more of myself, you know? So I think growing up was more like this question of identity, who are you as a player, and be able to cope with all the pressure and negativity that is around a sport when you're trying to make it to the pros.
I love that, the way you explain that and express that, because it's I don't know, it becomes a time in our lives where, you know, something is not serving us anymore. We have to move on. And I'm sure you love tennis. It was a huge part of your life. I mean, all of your life at that point, since you were 6 years old. So,
absolutely.
you know, I can imagine. So after that, what did you do next?
So when I stopped playing, I went straight back to school. I got my master's degree. I went to the UK. So basically, I decided I was going to stop playing. I remember exactly the moment when I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do anymore. And it's actually quite an interesting story. I would just explain very briefly. So basically, I was playing this tournament somewhere in France, in a not such a nice city. Like it was cold, and I stayed at a friend in Paris because it was a bit closer to where I was going, and she was taking me to the train station, so I would take the train, get there, and play in the evening. And we are on the highway, and there's a big traffic jam, and then there was someone bumped into a car, and it was not a big deal, but still, you know. And then she was like, and the guy didn't want to go on the side to make the, I don't know how you say I don't know the word in English, but anyway. So then she's like, Jennifer, take his picture. And I'm like, are you sure? She's like, no, yeah, take his picture. And I'm like, I do it. The guy gets so upset, gets out of the car, comes in and trying to literally, like, you know, thankfully I had like reflex from an athlete, so I was able to block the door. But it was ready to come and just like punch me in the face, because it's like, why the hell are you taking my picture and stuff? And I think he was on something. Yeah, I think he took some drugs or something. It was really intense. And his girlfriend comes out. She's like, what the hell are you doing? Get back in the car. The guy is following us for a while. And then eventually he left us up. So I was already like, what is going on? Then I go and I play, and it's Friday night. It's cold. I play at 7:30 p.m. and there is delay, so I'm playing it super late, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. What the hell? I don't want to be here. Like, honestly, I absolutely don't want to be here. I win the match. I don't know how. And then I go back to my room, and I remember, like, usually I was very serious. You know, as soon as I was back home, I would shower, eat something, go straight back to bed because I had to play the next morning. That time, I stayed till 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you have to understand, I never got injured. In 20 years I played, I barely got injured. But if I had something for like 5 days, it was like a big thing. And so I lose the match the next day. Then the next week I go to play, and my Achilles tendon like just snapped. And then I was out for like, I don't know, 3 months. And I was like, that's a sign, because I never had anything. But that day, the week after, I decided that I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to travel. I don't like it. I don't make any money. I'm not enjoying the game anymore. And then I decided to go back in the summer. I said, okay, now that I know that I'm going to go to the UK, because then I got the scholarship offer in the meantime, because I was planning for my next step. I decided I was going to play in the summer tournaments that I like, only prize money tournaments, just to make some money so I can have something to go to the UK. And I played amazing that summer. I played really well. And people were like, are you sure you want to stop? And I was like, no, I know, I'm good. Thanks. And, I never looked back then. I mean, eh, I don't miss, I like to play, but I don't miss it. Sometimes I say, okay, I would play. And then I think about that Friday night playing somewhere and I'm like, I don't want to do this. My Friday nights, I'd rather enjoy with my friends and be at the restaurant. I mean, that's when before COVID, of course. But yeah, and I think that's why I decided then to go straight to UK, and I did my master's degree there in Durham near Newcastle. But yeah, as soon as I was finished, I played my last tournament in August, and I think 2 weeks later, I was in the UK and then starting a new life, and I was completely fine with it. I was still competing in the UK, by the way. I still had a scholarship. I was playing for the university, and but it was finished. My professional career was behind me, and I was fine with it, to be honest.
So you were able to play at when you were getting your master's degree as well in college. So how did that
Yeah.
work as far as your eligibility goes?
So the thing in the UK is that it's a bit different. It's not like as strict as it is in the US, where you if you go pro, you can't really play college, or you have to make donations. There's a whole system, so you can still play some pro tournaments when you are in college. But in the UK, basically, no, it was more like about, do you have the grades? The criteria was actually how well did you do in college, because it was Durham University is a good school, so they didn't want to have people who were just good athletes. They also wanted people who were good in school, so they could give scholarship and get you in nice programs. The one I had was about development and diplomacy. It was kind of a nice one. So I had to make sure that my grades were good, and luckily my my grades from uni were good. So that's why I was able to get in.
Okay. So you pursued international relations, and like what were your plans to do with that once you graduated?
So at first, to be honest, when I moved to the States first, I had no idea what I wanted to do. One thing I knew is that I didn't want to do a business major like everyone else was doing. I was like, that's not for me. And then I said, okay, well, I like to write, and I chose political science first because I took it as a way to have an understanding of the world. I found that the courses that were there were quite interesting to me, and I always wanted to learn more about international. I was always like someone who like international stuff, international travel, international sports. Like I was always interested in that aspect. So when I moved to the UK, I said, well, journalism was not, I think, part of the curriculum. So I decided that I was going to do international relations, and I said, well, maybe I would get into work for the NGO. But to be honest, after 3 months, I understood that it was not for me. I understood that that's not what I wanted to do. But I was like, okay, well, now it's the year is already paid, so you may as well finish. But really, after 3 months, I said, okay, the whole diplomacy stuff, the whole way it is, it's not for me. But it gives me some time to think about what I want to do. It gives me some time to learn about something nice and get my degree and then see. But to be honest, my first years, when I was in uni undergrad, I was thinking, okay, the UN. I was thinking those really nice stuff, and then as I grew up, I said, okay, well, that's might not be what I'm actually into it. I'm more a communication person type of thing.
So I noticed that you are an excellent writer, and
Oh, thank you.
You're like me in terms of I love to write. I love telling stories, and so you began to do public, helping people become better communicators. That's something that I
Mm-hmm.
love to do as well. So we share
Yeah.
a lot of the same interests in that regard. career-wise, but I also know that you lived in Turkey for a little bit. So you're
Yes.
trilingual, okay? You speak three
That's a
languages.
bit of a stretch. I would not say that I'm fluent in Turkish, or if I say, my friends in Turkey will laugh a lot. But let's say that if you and I will go to Turkey, and I will get by better than you. Yeah, that's it. Like I speak enough, so I don't look like a tourist too much. So people are more like, they treat me more like a local. But yeah, my Turkish is rubbish. I always say that. It's not.
How long did you live there, and what did you do while you were there?
So I went to Turkey again. I really believe that some stuff like happen to you for a reason, and are random things. Sometimes things that look a bit random, or looks like, oh, I'll just try. Sometimes are the biggest gems. So for Turkey, for Istanbul, what happened is that when I finished my master's degree in UK, I went back to France, and I was looking for a job in communication mostly. I was not finding anything because it was just very difficult, and people also didn't find any value in hiring professional athletes. So it was a bit of a struggle, and I signed up for a website. Actually, a friend of mine had done that, and she had been placed in Dubai. It was a website that put coaches and former professional tennis players on assignments to coach people all over the world. And I said, well, you know what? Then let me try it for free. What do I risk? So I did it, and I forgot about it. And I remember that I was with my sister, because my sister was living in Paris area at the time, and I was there because there were more jobs there. So I was spending a lot of time there. And I was on the phone with my mom on a Sunday evening, I remember. And I told her, you know what? I know something is going to happen next week. And, mom's, oh, yes, of course, honey, whatever. And on the Tuesday morning, I'm, on my sister's couch, and I'm just like checking my emails, and I got an email. And they asked me, hey, there is a girl, young girl in Turkey. She's 12 years old. She lives in Istanbul, and she wants to be a professional tennis player. Would you be interested in having a trial with her? And I was like, well, it's June. Worst case scenario, I'm having a 3-week free holiday in Istanbul. I've never been to Istanbul, Turkey. Hey, you know what? Why not? Right now, it's not like I have many options, and I'm running out of money anyway. So let me go and see what happens there. So I went to Istanbul with absolutely no expectation, to be honest. And after 3 days, I called my parents and I said, look, I'm moving there. I instantly fell in love with the city. To be honest, I waited 3 days, but I knew right away. It was incredible. I loved the family, I loved the kid, and I said, wow. I never thought I was going to be a coach, to be honest with you, but I was very interested in this assignment because it was about sharing my experience and helping someone to be better, and to chase a dream, to share my experience, to try to teach her how to avoid some of the mistakes I made, to really just give everything I had to someone else. That's why I said yes. I think if it was just coaching in the country club, I mean, no offense to those people who do it, but it's just not me. And some people do it really great. And we are lucky to have those coaches as well. But for me, it wasn't my calling. My calling is about sharing my experience as a professional athlete. So that's why I moved there. And Istanbul is such a good city. I just love that place. I mean, I still love it to this day. People are still like, okay, we get it. You like Istanbul, but really, it was amazing. And the Turkish people completely embraced me for 2.5 years, almost 3 years. Stay there, and I'm still, my best friend is Turkish, and then I'm still, in touch with the people I used to work with, and so it was an amazing experience, really.
So the girl that you coached, where is she now? What is she doing?
So right now we worked for 2.5 years, and we had really good success. I mean, she won she won I think 3 national single championships, also in doubles. We played, we went to the world championship, the Orange Bowl in Key Biscayne. There's one in France as well. I mean, she did well, and then I think at some point she's also super smart, so it was like she can basically do anything and she will be successful. And I think at some point she asked herself, okay, do I want to continue? Do I want to pursue schools? And I was always telling her, look, you know what, no matter what you decide, I'll be rooting for you, because I want the best for you, not the best for me. The best for me is to tell you, yeah, push, 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 and be pro, even if you're not happy, even if you don't feel comfortable. But because I've been there, for me, it would have been dishonest to feel that at some point maybe she felt that she didn't have that. I honestly thought that she was super talented, but then it's about how the player feels. So you might feel that your player is incredible. If they inside they feel that maybe they want to do something else, there's nothing you can do. That's my philosophy. I know some people might disagree and say, no, but you have to push them and maybe that's what they need. I feel very uncomfortable pushing people because I've been pushed and I know how it feels like.
Yeah. So you've had some great experiences, and tennis has really kind of wrote your ticket as far as like going, seeing the world. So
I know, right?
Amazing experiences. I'm like, you are a true global citizen. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But so how did you really after that you decided to pursue your career in writing and do some other things, and now you're hosting a podcast and you have this company called The Speech House. So tell me about those two things.
Okay, so to be honest, writing has always been part of my life. Actually, I wanted to be a writer before I even touched a racket at 6. I was 4 and I had that thing when I was obsessed with storytelling. I remember like when me being a kid and I had this fairy tale book and I'll be literally like chasing my brother and my sister. Like they were avoiding me. We weren't living in the flat, which was hard to do, but I would literally hide. And when I see them, I'll be like, like, can you read me a story? And then they'd be like, oh my gosh. And they would read the story. And then I said, but you forgot that part. And they'd be like, but if you know, what the hell are you always asking me? I was like, no, because I like it. And I was obsessed with stories. And I was asking my mom one day, how does it work? And I remember I was 4 and she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, but who makes the story with my words? I was trying to understand. And she said, well, writers. And I was like, so can I be a writer when I grow up? And she said, yes, of course. I mean, you can do whatever you want. And that, my mom, I think, doesn't know what she did that day, because she just planted the seed that it was possible. And I always kept that idea of writing. And then I stopped writing when I, pursued tennis. I stopped writing, basically. I said, well, I have to focus on that. So writing was something I really loved, and I just stopped. I think I didn't write a word from like 13 to like 21. I just didn't do anything. And then I went back to it when I stopped playing. No, actually, yeah. When I graduated from my master's degree, I went on a trip to Vietnam, and I remember vividly that. So it's like in those movies, it's like 6 a.m. in the morning. It's very quiet. You're on a boat, and then you see that eagle, like going, and there was that voice telling me, "You need to write. You need to write." And I just tried to avoid it, because basically now, I didn't have tennis anymore to cover it up. I didn't have school. So it was just like the voice came back. That flame never died. And that's how I started to write a bit more. And when I was in Turkey, when the girl I was coaching was going to school, I started to work as a journalist for some English-speaking publications. And that's how I started to find the passion again. And then I started unique stories, because I realized that all the people who were living in Istanbul always had that idea of staying. Like I was supposed to stay 3 months. Like it was just a trial. And then I stayed almost 3 years. And then I was meeting someone say, hey, I was supposed to stay 2 months. Now it's been 20 years and I got married. What? And everyone, it was always the same story, but different people, because it's a city that really takes you in.
You talked about a lot of different things in your life and your experiences. And upon meeting you, upon getting to know you, one would think, oh, she's the most confident. She's so accomplished. She's so talented. But we had a great conversation one weekend, you and I, and this is kind of where this idea came from. And we talked about, we talk about everything. So we were talking about self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And it just a light bulb went off for me because I was like, okay. And we were kind of comparing like, okay, how do we do this in our lives? How does this show up in us? So how does self-sabotage show up in your life?
Wow. Okay. So yeah, self-sabotage to me is something that is actually quite present in the sense that it comes to your perception of success. So that's what I've understood recently. And I mean, I love when you say I'm very accomplished and stuff like this. But I always tend to think that I could have done more. I'm grateful with my life, but at that moment, I could have done that differently. Why didn't I go there? Why didn't I push myself to success? And I think it's because it's the definition of success. The way we define success is key to be, into self-sabotage or not. Let me explain. So I always had that hidden belief that success was scary. And I will tell you a story. I was practicing one day, and I think I shared that. And I felt that I was playing great. And then I'm like, oh, I can really do well. I thought about this. I can really do well. And when I did it, I remember feeling anxious. And I was at practice. Everything is going great. Everything is fine. But I felt a fear going all through my body. And I just ignored it. I said, oh, don't worry about it. It doesn't exist. But then when I went to play the next tournament and I was on the verge to beat, great girls, highly ranked, I was, up winning. And then all of a sudden something happens and you don't do it and you don't know. And then you blame yourself. You think that you suck. You're like, how come I didn't do this? And it's unbelievable. And I'm like weak mentally and I'm this and I'm that and then blah, blah, blah. And the negative chatter is there. And whenever you're about to do something, the voice comes back and tells you, remember when you were about to win that match and then you choke? Remember when you were about to do this and then you didn't do it? You had that great contact for public speaking and then you never emailed that person back. Or you had that great opportunity and then you just disappeared. And I kept doing this. I kept being in the room, like kind of having a way into the room. And then when I was at the door, instead of just like entering or just knocking and say, hey, I'm here, I'll be like, you know what, let me disappear, which makes you look unreliable. And then you feel ashamed, you feel guilty, and you're like, but why do I keep doing this? And I don't remember what triggered this. I think it was something, again, I did that to someone, or I was supposed to do something and then I just disappeared. And that's not me. I'm reliable. If I tell you I will do something, I will. But I realized that when it comes to my own personal growth or my, growing my business or doing something, I was not doing it. If you tell me, Jennifer, can you do this? And I said, yes, Keisha, I will be there. You can be sure I will be there. But when I had to show up for myself, I was not there. And I was afraid. And I was always like acting weird, disappearing. Until I understood that, okay, that's self-sabotage. Why do I do this? I started to dig. And I realized that it was because my definition around success was that success is something brings only negative. People are haters. People are jealous. People start to act crazy around you. They want to hurt you. Like all those kind of things that we hear. People say, oh yeah, I'm successful, but I get so much hate, all this. And you absorb all those beliefs and then they become part of you and you don't even know. That's how when I understood that, I said, oh, okay. So for me, being successful equals danger. That's a big word, huh? Danger. But that's really what it was. I had to face that. I had to understand that it was this because, and you hear all those things about, oh, people with money, they are like this. Or all those beliefs, success, money, all those things that we hear, people with money are evil, or all those negative stuff that you keep hearing from an early age. And then you're like 30 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, you don't even know, but they are part of you. So when you're on the verge of succeeding, everything comes back. And it's like a red alarm, like, don't go there, danger, 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 danger. And you don't know. You just know that you shouldn't go there. And then you remove yourself. And then you're looking reliable. And then you feel upset because you are in that search for growth. You are in this environment when you try to improve yourself. So you see that you're growing, yet that you feel stuck at the same time because you just don't understand, why can I not do this? I'm doing all this work on myself. I'm really trying to take my life to the next level. Yet I keep not doing the last piece that is necessary. But when you understand that it's because, if you do that, you feel like you're terrified. The brain is just trying to protect you. Our brains are not trying to hurt us. They're trying to protect us. Sometimes they overprotect us because of the belief that we have. And because of that, that's how you self-sabotage yourself. So that's how I understood how I was doing this to myself. Because my definition of success or money, whatever, was like, ooh, don't go there. Danger, 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 So yeah.
You said something that it was like something went through me a little bit, because that has been the struggle, like in my life personally. And we've had so many conversations about, we'll get on the phone and we'll start talking. And I'm like, okay, we're going to plan like an hour. And we always talk like 2, 3
whatever.
2, 3
yeah. 1 hour. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. So we just started like hitting on all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, the issue really is we're not being self-aware. Like that's the moment that you realize, okay, there, and then you said something, it started early. You know what I mean? So experiencing it early on, and those messages being kind of in almost programmed into you as a kid, and as you continue to grow, and then you start seeing yourself being successful, or in the world's eyes being successful. But in your mind, you're just pushing to get to the next level and the next level, and you don't see it as success. Or you reach that point and it's like, okay, now how do I maintain this? I'm doing well. I don't want to fall off. I want to, I want to keep going. But then it can show up in other ways, like blaming people when things go wrong, or choosing to walk away when things, you could be at the verge of whatever your breakthrough is and you walk away from it.
Yep.
And then I'm guilty of that. Procrastination is my biggest enemy right now. Like I struggle so hard with that, and feeling overwhelmed by all the things that I have to do sometimes. It's like, it's just me. I can't do all this stuff by myself. Like, it really is a self-sabotaging thing, because there's been times where I've walked away from opportunities that were huge, or I just got freaked out about the idea of success. Like, okay, what if I do really well at this? Or what if I don't do well at this? And I tried and I stepped out there and I did a bad job, or a lot of times I do it. The job is like really good to their standards, but to my standards, it's not.
It's all, yeah.
Yeah. And it's always chasing that next thing to be better, to have this level of excellence. So that perfectionism is another way that self-sabotaging shows up, because if it's not perfect, you don't want to do it. If the timing is not perfect, if you don't know everything, if it's not right, if it's, whatever it is, if it takes you too long to do it, if it feels insurmountable, if the work is too much, you just want to run from it and just go. And then you miss out on the things that help you grow and that challenge you. Again, like you said, the negative self-talk and putting yourself down all the time. Yeah. It's just so many ways it shows up.
I read something interesting today, because on what you just said about perfectionism, and it was, the perfectionist, you're scared. And I was like, ooh, the brutal honesty of it. I like it. I'm an athlete, so I can take it, they always like this, you have to go, go, go. But I want to ask you, what were you afraid of? Because I think that fear of failure and fear of succeeding are very similar, but you said that, okay, there was those big opportunities and I got freaked out. And you said, what if I do well? And that's where, we are in there because yes, I made my episode of today on my podcast was about the fear of winning. So I'm right into the topic right now. And I want to ask you, what were you afraid of?
I think I was afraid of the fear of success and the fear of failure. So it leaves that gap of mediocrity, right? If I stay safe in this middle point, there's not going to be too much expected of me up here, but I know I'm not going to be down here. Does that make sense?
Oh,
like I know I'm not gonna fail.
Perfect.
But if I stay in the middle, I stay in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about this over expectation from people or continuing to have to worry about, okay, I did this, now I have to top it. Now I have to top that every single time. I have to top myself. And so I was afraid of that, quite frankly. Or when I started my business years ago, and when I was working for other people and they asked me to do something, I could pull a rabbit out of a hat. I could do anything, like whatever they asked me to do, it was done. And when I started working for myself and people started asking me, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? My first thought was, oh my God, can I do that? Can I deliver on that? What if they don't like it? What if it was all these thoughts were swirled? And I just said, you know what? You gotta let it go. Yep. Just do your best and forget about the rest. And when you do your best, people know that you've done your best. Now, have I had some clients that are very difficult to work with? A couple, not many, because I know how to deliver what they want. But to get that out of me took so much work. And it was mentally draining. It was emotionally draining to a certain degree. And I was like, okay, I really want them to be pleased with my work. And because my name is on the line, and if I don't do well, they're going to be like, well, Kay Whitaker didn't do blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. I know.
So it's that fear of, okay, if I just stay in the sweet spot or in the, it's just, I'll be all right.
But you know what? Let me tell you something about this, because first of all, I love the honesty, because a lot of times we don't talk about it. And that's what I was saying, like the fear of winning, it's kind of taboo. It's like, oh, but of course, everyone wants to be successful. Who's afraid? It's easier to talk about fear of failure because it kind of makes us look good. I'm afraid of, failure. But fear of winning, it's a different thing. It's like, no, everyone wants to be successful. Well, yes. But again, when we have those beliefs around success and what it means, you can sabotage yourself very quickly. And when I read something very interesting about the fear of winning, and you explain it beautifully. And it was the fear of change, because and that's exactly what you said. Then I have to, if I do this well, now I have to do it again. I have to always be great. The expectation raises, all of a sudden my status is changing. Oh, now they expect me to be like amazing every single time. What if I was just like a one-hit wonder? What if I was just a fluke? What if, all those things happen, and then what is going to happen? And now I'm on the line, and you say beautifully, oh, now, okay, if you don't make it, oh yeah, you see that black girl, okay, yeah, that she was just a fluke. Oh, we know that she wasn't that good. But the thing is that the problem with the middle is that at some point, when you start to grow, work on yourself, it becomes unbearable. Because the middle becomes like the same taste as mediocrity. Because when you embark on that growth journey, the danger is that you can no longer fool yourself. Because you're like, I'm there, I know why I'm there. And it becomes like, annoying. And you're like, why am I staying here? I'm frustrated. It feels safe. It's comfortable. But then when you start growing, it becomes unbearable. And you want to get out because it's dangerous, actually, to stay there, stay in the middle.
Yeah. I've had to learn how to not focus on that and just create.
Yeah, that's
just
amazing.
Create the things that you want. and focus on that. Because like you said, there are the first thoughts that you have in your mind, if you're geared towards the more negative side, are those, okay, what if people don't like it? What if they have something to say? It's always going to be a hater. But you have to focus on the people who will like it. So I have, every time I, create something, I'm like, okay, this is for somebody who I know somewhere will like it. I don't have to worry.
Is that what you tell yourself? Because I think it's so interesting. How do you, so you tell yourself this is for someone that will, okay, I like this.
There's someone, because the beauty of what we do is knowing that, or what we experience in life is that we're not the only one. There is someone somewhere experiencing the exact same thing that you are. And particularly during COVID and all this stuff that's going on, a lot of people are experiencing the same feelings. And so I had to find a way to, you know what? I need to use my voice. I need to put it out there. And I need to talk to people who feel like me. And I know they're out there. I don't know where they are. I have no clue, but I have one in France right now. So, I'm like, we connected on so many things because of our kind of, lived experiences. And I had to ask myself too about some of the self-sabotage that we have. Is some of it related to being Black and being a woman or a girl? When we were girls, we were taught certain things, and that work twice as hard mentality, and you're constantly having to prove yourself. And I was like, am I proving myself because I'm Black, or am I a woman, or both? But it's a constant
all of the above.
It's a constant cycle of having to prove yourself. And so I just felt like, I don't know if it's coming from this angle, over here. It was just so many. But I know the procrastination thing was the number one thing that had permeated my life. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. I am really hurting myself by just not taking action on the things that really need to happen. And so I saw the self-sabotage and how it was showing up. And I had to really look at myself deeply and say, this is not, this is difficult. And it's really hard to reverse. Quite honestly, it's very,
of course.
And it was something we talked about, and you said that fight between your former self and your new self, that battle, like what is that like for you?
Yeah, so that's true. That I think this is also a very good point. So basically, this is what happens. I've noticed that whenever I am having a breakthrough, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to start doing something different, and then I have this really big moment of realization, and I'm being decisive about something. There is always a part of me, and the next day, that will try to fight. It's like the old Jennifer who's been there and just chilling for so many years and so comfortable, now feels that she's being kicked out. And she's like, no, it's comfy here. I ain't going nowhere. And you have all those thoughts. And basically the old self is this voice in your head who's like trying to bring all the negativity, all the negative chatter that you used to tell yourself, all the negative experience that you had. Remember when this happened? So why are you trying to push yourself? Why are you trying to be successful? You remember when this happened to you and you were not, you didn't get this? Remember this? Remember that? And it's pushing, and it's the doubt. And it's true. The old self is really tricky because it has proof of evidence, so many experiences that they can just bring up, and you feel them, and you relieve them, and you feel like, oh yeah, maybe this is true. Maybe I should not go that way. But that's also, again, once you identify that, once you understand this, that's when you tell the old self, you know what? You have two options. You can be like, you know what? Just get the hell out of here. Or you can say, look, I understand that you are doing this to protect me. Because again, like I said, the brain is always trying to protect you in a weird way sometimes, but it always does. And it's about understanding that, okay, not your old personality, old self is acting out of fear because you're trying to change something, and change is uncomfortable. And they're trying to, and it looks like I having like split personality, but I'm personalizing so then people can understand better. But basically, it's about understanding that this moment of discomfort, when you have these voices in your head trying to remind you about all the bad experiences that you had, is just temporary. And you have to kind of go through it and say, look, I understand, but this is better. And I think I've heard Will Smith saying something one day, that the best is always on the other side of fear. And I think it's so true. When we face our fears, when we just like stare at it, we realize that, oh, it's not that a big of a deal. And for me, it's always been like this. And I always say, like, look, you know what? I do meditation. I'm like, it's going. I exercise, I dance, whatever. Shower is always really good. And I just let it go. And it's something that's really helping me, and something I've been practicing. Whatever works for you, to when you feel that funky state, when you feel the doubt that is crippling in and that it makes you feel very bad, that's when you really want to say, look, I have to change my physiologic state. I have to understand that my mind is trying to take control of my body, like by playing those negative experiences. It's not real. It's not my reality anymore. I am moving on. And it might take a long time. It might take 2 days. It might sometimes, once you know it's finished. Sometimes it might take like 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. But once you've decided that this is where you want to go, it doesn't, regardless what your mind is telling you, regardless, you got to keep going and create new experiences that are reinforcing that belief.
I'm blown away. Like, I love our conversations. So we always,
okay, I love it too.
And I think, like you said, there's so many things you can do. First, you have to identify that you are self-sabotaging, because a lot of times the behaviors are so innate and drilled into us that we don't even realize they're in our subconscious. So we don't even realize that we're doing it. First of all, once we realize it, do we need therapy? Do we need to seek, some counseling to help work through that and really understand and dive into that? That's another thing that I wholeheartedly support is, getting the therapy if the other methods aren't working for you, to really tap into yourself and figure out, okay, how do I change these self-sabotaging behaviors in my relationships, or on my jobs that I have, or in my business, or whatever the case may be. It is a fight. It really is a struggle, but every day you have to overcome. And I listen to Earl Nightingale, real old school stuff, like super old school. But one thing he says that I love is that success is the achievement of a worthy goal. So whatever that goal is for you, if you want to be the best tennis player, you want to be the best mom, the best coach, the best whatever that is for you personally, that is what success is, not what the world deems successful. If you're climbing the ladder or whatever you think that you're supposed to have to be successful in life, it really is about what you want for yourself, not what anybody else thinks you should have or their expectations for your life. And so when we start stripping that away, that's why I can just focus on creating and not worrying about expectations. Do I want to make sure as many people hear what I have to say? I would love for them to feel something or be transformed by just our conversation alone, but that's not for everybody, And so I just create for those who want to hear it, and that is success to me.
That's amazing. I really like this, because before we spoke today, I was talking about, marketing and how, I was feeling comfortable with it. And my friend was telling me that, basically you're focusing on the one thing. It's not something you can, there's things that you can control, 3 layers of controls, like what you do, like you said, what you create. And then like marketing is like kind of saying, okay, this is out there, you're offering this, but then you cannot control how people are receiving it. And it's basically what you just said. It's really like, it's not for everybody. Of course, you will love everyone to listen, but all you can do is try your best to achieve what you believe in. And I really like that, what you said, that it's a goal that is, worthy to you. And that's something that is so important, because often, and I think this is what you were saying before, like, this need to prove ourselves all the time. It's because it was kind of the way we were perceiving the world. In order to have value, we have to achieve that. As Black women, we have to do twice as hard. We have to do this because otherwise we'll be overlooked. So there's always the chip on the shoulder, and you push, but then you don't listen to yourself anymore. I know that there was a point where a couple of months ago I said, you know what? I am just tired. I just want to focus on me and on just recover and just, be kind to myself. This is also kindness is something that is so important. Kindness towards ourselves, because we are bullying ourselves when we are way more compassionate with others. Exactly. But it's something I understood recently, how we just bully ourselves all the time when we are nice to other people. Oh, don't worry, it's okay. But we just no, you have to push. You're tired. Now, I was upset at the beginning of the weekend because I felt like, oh, there's so many things I wanted to do. And then I said, you know what? I'm tired. Why you keep blaming yourself for being tired? That's ridiculous. No, it's like saying, oh, you know what? I'm hungry. And why am I eating? Makes no sense. Kindness towards myself is something I really worked on over the past couple of months, year, especially with that COVID madness. It's something that definitely you have to be kinder to yourself, because what's happening is not normal. And you have to be, hey, you know what? I try to do my best. I try to do the best I can. And if I cannot do everything today, I will try to do more tomorrow. But it's not easy. And like you said, it's a struggle. And I love that you talked about therapy, because it's something that we don't talk about. Mental health. Ooh, it's we don't talk about this. And I know in Black families, it's something that we don't talk about at all.
Right. For sure.
Ooh, you don't, why are you crazy? Why are you going to have therapy? Why would you do this? Why would you? And I think it's detrimental because, everyone is struggling with mental health. Everyone needs support. Everyone and I'm completely fine now saying okay, well, you know what? If I need help, yes, I will seek therapy. If I saw sports psychologists when I was in the uni, and thank God I did, because it helped me to go through things. It helped me to be better on the court. It helped me to be better as a person. I had coaching before. Yes, so what? For me, it's when you're sick, you go to the doctor. So why, if you're not feeling good, why would you not go to see someone who can help you? It makes no sense.
Right. And I think it's just, we're all just caught up. It's just in the mind, because it's in the mind, we don't see it as, something that, and yes, to be honest with you, we're all messed up. Okay. I mean, we're all products of our, our parents or whatever, and they're products of their parents, and everybody did the best they could with the situations that were given to them.
Yes, but that's important to say that. Yes,
and so there is no blame to place.
Absolutely. Agreed.
But there is an opportunity to break the cycle, and so I think our generation is starting to really understand the benefits of therapy, of talking through some things to realize, okay, this is why I am this way, or this is what I don't see about myself. Can you help me see the blind spots? And the therapist is going to do that. They're going to notice patterns. They're going to notice things in your behavior because you're sharing and telling them things that have happened to you throughout patterns of your life. And so it really does open a lot of doors. And in your mind, unlocks a lot of things, and it helps you to grow in those areas, even though it's not an overnight thing. It takes a while to break self-sabotage. I'm still working on it every day. So it's not
exactly. I mean, why are we kidding here? Of course we still have to go through it. I mean, absolutely. It's like a daily exercise that you have to do. And I really like that you're saying this, because sometimes we tend to think that, okay, if I do this, people want the magic pill that's just gonna take everything away. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is not gonna happen. I feel like I started to really work on myself 4.5 years ago. And I start to feel now okay, better. Now I feel okay that things are starting to come together. But it's like a daily, I literally worked excuse my French, my ass off on myself, because there was a lot to unplug, a lot to dig. And then when you go, and no, people don't like to dig. It doesn't, it's not comfortable. And that's why I don't blame people, because you have to go, and to face that ugly truth. It's so much easier to blame to blame your parents, to blame that boyfriend, to blame that girlfriend, to blame that friend, to blame that boss, to blame that friend. It is so much easier to do that. But when you start to be like, ooh, let me look at myself in the mirror. Yeah, okay. Ooh, no. Okay, you know what? Let me go on Netflix. It's much easier.
And I hold the mirror up to my friends, and I want them to hold the mirror up to me. Sometimes I'll say, okay, you over the years, or, in the past few months, I've heard you tell me this, this, and this. And it sounds like to me, the common denominator in this situation is you. So let's look at what your role is in it, because that's what I do. I always look at, okay, am I the common denominator? I'm seeing something here.
I love
how
this.
do I begin to, like, okay, look at myself now. I'm seeing some things. What is my role in this situation? How am I making it better, or how am I making it worse? Yeah, I always look at that. And so I love this conversation, and we could go on and on and on and on and on. But but we're gonna start wrapping it up, because I want you to make sure we talk about your podcast, which is called The Players Lounge. Yes. And I was like, when you told me about it, I was like, okay, this is really cool, because even though it's focused on tennis, it's focused on mindset. And I found it valuable. Even though I never played tennis before, I still took away some lessons and ideas from it, because it's still applicable to my life, even though I'm not a tennis player. So talk about your Players Lounge, and like, what is the purpose and kind of the premise of it?
Yeah. So I started the Players Lounge because, again, I wanted to talk about, mental strategy, because I think that, again, it's that thing that people don't really talk about. And there's a lot of judging, a lot of blaming when athletes perform. It's something I suffered from, like people, like I'm a sensitive person. And it's like you're shamed for being who you are. Oh, you have to be tough. You have to be this, no pain, no gain, blah, blah, blah. Don't be weak. This very like warrior vocabulary. And everyone fakes it, hoping to make it. And then you realize that you have all those fears inside. And when you stop, when you're no longer a competition, people start to be like, you know what? I was feeling this way. Or you know what? Actually, you were great. Huh? Really? Oh, okay. And then all those things. And I also like have a niece who plays tennis, and I always talk, and I always want to share. And like you said, I like that you said that it's applicable to other people, because I really believe that I talk about tennis specifically, but this could be literally just, I could strip the tennis part and I put analysis, and talk about, life, because to me, what happens on the court is very relevant to what you do in your life. I learned some of my best life lessons on the tennis court, being a tennis player. So that's why I really want to talk about mindset, because I'm all about growth, all about how you can be your best self. I choose tennis because this is, what I know and something that I really like to do. But to be honest, I would love to have this conversation with non-tennis players as well. And I feel really happy that you, listening to the Players Lounge, you felt that you could take something, because that's the whole point. I'm all about helping people to be the best version of themselves.
So where can people find and listen to the Players Lounge?
I'm like the air. I'm everywhere. No, joke aside. So yeah, you can find the podcast everywhere, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Acast, everywhere. So it's the Players Lounge, and make sure that you put tennis, because I guess there was another guy who also had the same name. And we are on Instagram at the Players Lounge Podcast, and on Facebook as well. And you can also find me at my Instagram at Jennifer Migan. And if you have questions, and I mean, I'm so excited, because I I'm listening to you and I'm inspired, and I just wanted to, to start again, to push more with the speech house. I was doing unique stories. I want to do everything, but we don't have time to do everything. So right now I'm focusing on that, but definitely, yes, you can find me there, and I'm always happy to chat and interact with people. Really, that's something what I like. I mean, I think you noticed that I like to talk.
We both do. We'll be talking all this thing could go on for hours. We have like a Joe Rogan, Joe Budden 3-hour podcast.
I was like, well, yeah, definitely, let's do this. I like that.
I just thank you for being here and for being you and for joining me on the podcast. I'm just,
thank you so much.
You're doing so much. You have done so much. I'm proud of you. Continue to do your thing. So
thank you so much, Keisha. I'm so honored, to be honest. When you asked me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go on the podcast. I was really happy. No, really, what you're doing is great. I love that. I love the fact that you really giving the voice to people, all kind of different people. I mean, I've listened to your podcast also. You didn't talk too much about, you also were an athlete, an accomplished athlete. You kind of didn't talk about this, but yeah.
I was in the middle. I was in the middle on that.
Yeah, whatever. For part 2 of our conversation, we can talk about this. So you're doing amazing yourself. You play low key, but to be honest, you're the below G as well. Like you're doing good. And I'm really honored that I was able to have that chat, and I feel very excited really for what's in there for us, like in the next year or whatever. But yeah, definitely it was amazing chatting with you. Thank you so much.
So glad our paths crossed. Yes. So thank you again for watching, listening, being a part of this, and until then, keep soaring.
Thanks for listening to the Succeeding Over All Roadblocks Lifecast. Follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Soar Lifecast for more tips and motivation. You can also email questions to soarlifecast@gmail.com. Be sure to catch new episodes every week and leave a review of the show. Until then, keep soaring.